Joining us on the line right now is Ken Cuccinelli, the Attorney General from the Commonwealth of Virginia, a man running for the office of governor, and a man who has been at the forefront, at least in Virginia, at fighting Obamacare. Mr. Attorney General, we find ourselves right now at a situation where Republicans in the House have, in an attempt to delay, that's the latest thing they asked for, was a delay of certain portions of Obamacare. We have found it brought to the point where we have a government shutdown. Do you support their efforts?
Well, I certainly support delaying and ultimately repealing Obamacare. I mean, when I went to court first to sue over it, it was because of constitutional problems with the law, but it also has tremendous positive, policy problems that we're seeing unfold all over the place. I mean, this really is, Max Baucus may have had the understatement of the year back in June when he called this a train wreck. It is an unfolding train wreck, and it's having all sorts of consequences, particularly for small businesses and individuals. You know, gradually others are getting illegally exempted, whether it's the big businesses or Congress themselves. And I think that is what irks people more than almost anything else.
But, sir, do you support what the Republicans in the House are doing?
I certainly support trying to delay this. I do not. I'm astonished that the Democrats won't even sit down and talk about it, while the Republicans have made a series of offers. I think that's just incredible. It's irresponsible. And frankly, it sounds an awful lot like what my opponent has supported. Yes, 2 days ago, he said he thought not talking to the other side, don't even bargain.
But again,
was
sir,
an appropriate approach.
I hate to ask you this a third time, but do you support what they're doing in the form of a government shutdown?
I don't want to see the federal government shut down. I don't want to see Virginia's government shut down. But I have to say, I think the Republicans are the ones open to talking to the other side, and you can't solve a problem that you don't talk about.
Well,
and until the other side comes and sits down with them, I don't think you're going to see this resolved.
Our guest is Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli. Of course, he's running for governor, and the election is coming up. We're in October now, and we see the polls tightening. Attorney General, Zogby poll yesterday shows basically a dead heat. But it also shows over 20% of the electorate is undecided. Where do you think the undecided vote is going to go based on this latest development? I mean, this is a huge, huge shock to the Virginia system when you've got a government shutdown.
It certainly is. We're more affected than almost any other state, maybe any other state. I would also note that because today is also implementation day for Obamacare, that all of the stories associated with the failure of that are rolling forward here during the next 5 weeks. And my opponent, Terry McAuliffe, didn't think Obamacare went far enough. He wanted a full-blown single payer, which would have wiped out all private insurance. And if you think it's working great now, he wanted to go even farther. And he also, and the government shutdown, of course, is wrapped around the Obamacare issue. 2 weeks ago, he said he wouldn't sign a Virginia budget. He repeatedly said that didn't involve the Obamacare Medicaid expansion. So this is happening in states also, and we're having that debate ourselves. And he has said he would not sign a Virginia budget. And in Virginia, that's a government shutdown, all over expanding Medicaid under Obamacare.
Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli, you have two new ads out. The first one came out early last week, and it trumpets the fact that you were the first man out to fight Obamacare at the state level by suing the federal government. And your second ad points to this statement that McAuliffe made, which has been described as drawing a red line, which is he will veto any bill that doesn't fully fund Obamacare, even though during the debate he couldn't say how much it would cost. Clearly, your polling is showing that this is a winning issue for you. Are you happy with going toward Election Day, having these be the big issues that the people of Virginia are deciding on?
I am. Look, I'm proud to stand on my record. I think it was the right thing to do to fight the federal government over Obamacare, just like I sued them twice, sued the EPA twice. Those two lawsuits were bipartisan. And we saved the taxpayers of Virginia over $250 million by winning one in Northern Virginia. So the states have to push back when the federal government overreaches. Terry McAuliffe, even the Washington Post calls Terry McAuliffe a Washington insider and a Virginia outsider. He is not going to push back on Washington when it's appropriate, and I've already got a track record of doing that, and I stand on my record. I'm proud of my record.
Mr. Cuccinelli, can I ask you one more quick question? This came up in the debate last week with Terry McAuliffe. He agreed. He said he has not changed his mind on an assault weapons ban and an expansion of gun control laws in Virginia, very similar to what go into effect today across the river over in Maryland. Are you going to make political hay out of it? Because I haven't seen you mentioning it.
Yes, we are making political hay of it. That was the first appearance of the gun control issue in the race. My opponent has the distinction of being the only statewide candidate of all 6 who has an F rating from the NRA, and you bet we're making hay of it, although you are right, it is of greater interest to voters in other parts of the state than Northern Virginia, but I've been a leader on defending the Second Amendment in Virginia while I was in the state Senate representing Fairfax. Certainly I've carried that position in the Attorney General's office, and there's now an obvious and enormous distinction between myself and Terry McAuliffe on defending the Second Amendment in the governor's race, and we're glad that issue has come alive in the governor's race.
I got to get one thing on the record. Have you ever in the past, or will you ever in the future, leave your wife while she's in labor to attend a D.C. party or a fundraiser?
Oh, my gosh. No way. And we have 7 kids. Terry's got 5. I made all 7 births. I think he's 2 for 5.
Well, I raise this only because he seems to be making the case that he is so pro-woman and that you are not, and yet here is a situation where, he didn't stand by his own wife during delivery.
Right, and proudly talked about it in his book. My wife read his book, and, she didn't say anything to me until she got to those passages. And then the minute I walked in the door, it was one of these, "You got to see this. I can't believe this." And it was the one where he left his wife in the back seat crying with their newborn on the way home from the hospital, where he stopped by a Democrat fundraiser over in Maryland. And my wife, I wouldn't have been able to get back in the car. So,
all right. Well, we have broken news this morning. Once again, on Mornings on the Mall and WMAL, Mrs. Cuccinelli does not plan on voting for Terry McAuliffe for governor. Is that a fair bet? All right.
Yes.
Ken Cuccinelli, thanks for giving us your time this morning.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.